Hello and welcome to another episode of the BoKcast, a music podcast.
Hey there.
We are back to discuss more, and what a hell of a month it's been.
It's been a good month.
But let's start off with something of a sour note for both of us, I think. Something that came quite out of the blue, it feels.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm talking about Kanye West's Jesus Is Pretty Cool, I guess.
So, this album, long delayed.
Mm-hmm. I was convinced it wasn't coming out this month.
Yeah, I thought that as well. I thought this is just going to not happen. It's going to be his detox or his Chinese democracy. It's just going to drag on. And unluckily we got it.
I know, full on us for hotly anticipating a Kanye album, even though there were all the rumours about it being a gospel album and him turning to faith properly, even though he's always done religious stuff in his albums, even from day one. I mean, he has Jesus Walks in his first album and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue with the album is it's not even very interesting with what it does with the religion. Like, Jesus Walks is more interesting in its discussions on religion than anything in this album. That's true, yeah. It's sort of like, it's not even a bit, like, neither of us are religious, right?
Yeah.
But it might have been interesting to hear one man's opinion on God or the use of religion in his life, but what instead you get is what every Kanye West album is of late, which is just Kanye's woes.
Yeah.
And now all it is woes of him as a Christian.
Yeah, where I'm convinced as well, his view of God is still pretty much him.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he is so faithful now, but he's faithful to what he calls God, but it's still just him.
Oh yeah, he's a church unto himself.
Yeah, because he's even created a church unto himself. He's created the Sunday service.
Yeah.
He's created this compound in Wyoming.
Very Waco, Texas.
It's looking like Jonestown shit over there. It's like he's talking about getting like all of the Yeezy stuff. All of the Yeezy stuff's going to be built on this land. Everyone's going to be able to come and work. Everyone's going to be able to come and farm. It sounds very much like it's some sort of utopian idea, but also he's built strong late capitalist vibes into it. So the whole thing is just a statue of himself with children adoring at his feet because he brought the work back to America. That's him.
It's... I mean, the probably the most offensive thing on the record, and this is sort of the issues that I have with this record is mainly that it's boring.
Yeah.
Usually with a Kanye West record, you will get a nice dollop of goofy Kanye, a little bit of humour. He usually says something incredibly stupid, but it's sort of like, oh, Kanye, there he goes again.
Yeah.
But this one, he just says these stupid things and there's no humour to it. Like the worst offender on the whole album is, I've not taken down the lyrics, but where he sort of talks about the reason that his merchandise is $300 is to feed his family. It's like, fuck off.
Because the IRS is taking too much of a cut.
It's get to fuck.
Yeah, it's like, you're a fucking millionaire. You married into a millionaire family as well.
You know,
I'm crying for you.
You know, I think it's in the Bible as well, isn't it? Where Jesus said, you know, a rich man can't get into heaven, but he is allowed to sell trainers for £300, and then he might be able to get into heaven. It's just so fucking ridiculous.
Kanye is so much because like, did you watch the Zane Lowe interview with him? I've
not watched it. No,
I tried to watch the whole thing. It's impossible. But like in that interview, he's talking about all this sort of stuff, and he's talking about envisioning an idea for a Yeezy shoe, and like, because he had to do it out of China before. He couldn't have one of these moments of inspiration and immediately have it churned out in China and see a prototype and stuff like that. And for some reason, he's like, again, he's trying to tie this constantly back to God, because Zane Lowe's questions are always about his faith, because that's what the driving force of this album is. But he ends up going on these weird divergent tears because it isn't about God. It isn't about being faithful. It's about him literally trying to wipe the slate clean in 6 months of suddenly turning to the faith.
Yeah.
6 months, like before his turn in April or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had basically just released Ye, and Ye
from
was full
year.
of clatty sex stuff and cursing and all that sort of usual shit that he's into. It's like you are either highly insincere or your brain is turning to pudding, and he's got brain worms. I think the guy's a fucking lunatic. Hearing him talk to Zane Lowe, I genuinely think this guy's a danger to himself and maybe to his family.
Yeah.
Because see if this isn't a weird genius who's working all of us for fucking money.
Yeah.
He is actually dangerous.
There's sort of an Andy Kaufman inside Kanye West. Well, that's the sort of like, I loved Ye, and I loved Kids See Ghosts last year.
Yeah.
And this just feels so lackluster of an output.
Yeah.
For something that was delayed and delayed and delayed, it feels really sketchy. More sketchy than any other album he's put out. It's just sort of like half-baked ideas.
Yeah, you can even feel like old ideas coming back and he can't turn them into something new. Like, I felt like sonically this new album sounded most like 808s and Heartbreaks.
Yeah, maybe.
A little bit more mellow, a little bit more like sort of synth-led and stuff like that. Obviously there's still trap bleeding in there because trap's hot, so like use it a lot. But like, and for something that's meant to be gospel-y, a gospel album, it's not particularly gospel-y.
No, there's not a lot. You would have thought he would have used more of that sort of Sunday service thing that's been going on for months.
I'm really glad he didn't though, because see that first track, it's terrible. Every hour or every minute or whatever the fuck it's called, because it's got that weird blink, 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 weird plink plonky piano in it.
Oh yeah,
and it's compressed to fuck, so it sounds terrible.
It's a really surprisingly for Kanye, it's a really shoddily produced album.
Yeah, you can tell he slapped this piece of shit together.
It's not worthy of it's not worthy of being a pig stinker.
No,
because despite our bagging on it, there are some good moments on it. Not good tracks necessarily, but good sort of moments that shine out.
Yeah.
Like, I quite liked, what was it called? Sela
is the
Sella's
first track.
good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I like Hands On because it's see the little bit where it's like vocodered voice of someone going hands on. Hands on, hands on, hands on, hands on, hands on. He just keeps saying hands on and he rushes to it. He's like, hands on, hands on, hands on. It actually sounds like something that Matt and Trey would make on South Park.
Yeah, that's true.
It's unbelievable. The guy doesn't understand that sounds like a parody song.
That's the good
But that's why I kind of like it.
But I liked it as well, yeah.
Use This Gospel, I love. I actually genuinely think that's a great song.
Is that the one with the clips featuring? Because that's a good one as well. Is that
the one with the blistering sax solo in it?
Oh, the Kenny G sax solo. Yeah, that is the one.
However,
that's the best track on the
Did you notice that the Kenny G sax solo is not integrated into the song whatsoever? The song literally stops to have it happen, so it's not.
Yeah.
It's very clunky, but I love that song. Even though that is very poorly put together, I still love it. But yeah,
that's sort of the best track on the album.
It feels every inch an album that he tried to slap together in 6 months of being quote unquote saved.
I'm going to talk about later in our book club about an album that sounds like it was recorded in a porta potty in 13 minutes, but that still sounds better than this.
Yeah.
Real disappointing.
Do you want to talk about a more interesting rap album?
Yeah, let's go for it. What do you want to do? You want to do clipping?
Yeah, let's do clipping.
Let's do clipping.
I am very well. I mean, I'm torn because this album is. It would be the album of the month had it not been for another album, because this album is a masterpiece of not only just very, very good hip hop.
Yeah.
it's just an actual like really well thought out concept piece, like a piece of art. Of course, we're talking about Clippings, There Existed an Addiction to Blood.
It's great. I think it's probably the most. I think it's probably the best album to date, and it's probably the most robust album in terms of it's sort of got the themes. Like with earlier Clipping albums, I know the last one, the concept album, the sort of sci-fi one was really good. But the sort of first couple albums and EPs, it sort of seemed more like disparate ideas stuck together, and some of it didn't really gel. But this one is really sort of, it's got like one sort of voice to it, and it feels sort of more narratively robust, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a really good album. It's genuinely frightening.
It has moments where it carries its tone incredibly well, considering it's trying to tell this sort of weird like crime thriller story. Yeah. That's just interwoven perfectly with this horrible horror movie vibe, and like everything obviously starts off with like the song is literally just a Carpenter soundtrack made into a rap song.
True. Yeah. It's very indebted to like Halloween and the soundtrack to Halloween and the Fog and all those sort of great Carpenter ones of the 70s and
Nothing
the
Is Safe is just so happens to be a banger as well. And it's like it's a really strong way to open. It sets this tone, and then like the thing, the main track that's very, very disturbing to me is The Haunting, the interlude to The Haunting. Yeah. Because there's something about a woman or anyone reading out, like, you know, that kind of way where you dissociate and you're just reading stuff off of a page. Mm-hmm. Like, clearly something's gone wrong in her head and she's just recounting this tale out of, like, this feeling of like just needing to tell someone kind of thing. And like that moment where she says she heard her name being spoken in her room and turned round to see that her brother, and you can tell she's going to say brother, and then it just cuts the tape. That's really creepy. Fast forwards and all of a sudden it picks back up later on, she's describing something else. It's like that gets me every single time. It makes me shudder.
It sort of reminded me almost like with the samples, as a sort of hip hop equivalent to the Giles Corey record that we spoke about. Like it's not as indebted to the sort of spectral world, and it's not as sort of echoey and sort of claustrophobic, but it's sort of got these aspects in it as well. It's a really good record. I think it's my favourite of their records, because like they can still craft bangers. There's still room for it Diggs in the concept. It's ridiculous. The most underrated rapper probably this decade. Easily, like, they don't get any love. No, they really don't. Like, anywhere. When I was looking through, like, sort of what their, like, basically their YouTube channel and stuff like that, it's like their views are in the toilet. It's like, do people not know this band exists and they're like maybe one of the best experimental rap acts ever? Yeah. And it's like, it's a real shame, and like I get it, like they're so out of left field that they're not going to get like award recognition, that kind of band I don't really think care. But at the same time, I want everyone to understand just how accomplished Daveed Diggs is as a rapper, and how fucking good those two producer guys are as actual like crafters of noise. Like, see throughout this whole fucking album, it makes use, like they always have, but even better on this one, makes use of like this diegetic audio, like this idea of like you're living in a world in every song. Like every song has this little bubble that you're in. Yes. And there's like sounds from the street, there's cars going by. It's cacophonous. Yeah. It's very oppressive almost, the soundscape in it. Because there's that song like Run For Your Life, where he's like being chased by a female bounty hunter, an assassin, like, and she's just like stalking him, and you get this sort of really horrible, like sort of claustrophobic feeling from like how sparse all the music is, but when they want to go hard, they go hard kind of thing, and like when they bring the drone in, it's proper drone and it hurts to listen to and stuff. It's fantastically well balanced, and it's just oof.
Yeah.
It's just a great album. It's just so good.
And I don't know if they were going for this, but I read into it this idea that potentially the whole album is like a correlation of like morbid curiosity of horror and morbid curiosity of like gang violence.
Yeah,
of like
maybe.
Of the world looking on to a place like, I don't know, like Detroit or whatever, and the horrible rampant crime and stuff like that exists in a city like that, and that sort of feeling of like, well, that's horrible, and then sort of getting on with their day, or like wanting to actually have all these people come from these places that are so full of turmoil and poverty and stuff like that, but then go on to make great art for them. It's like you're kind of they're paying a price so that you can have something beautiful at some point down the line.
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
like it's like you're paying, society is paying some kind of price for like people's entertainment. To a degree, I think there's maybe something in that.
I think you might be right, yeah.
Because it does have those moments where it feels like the album's kind of taking digs at the idea of like the glamorization of gore, the glamorization of violence, the glamorization of horror. It's kind of taking digs at it while also living in it, because they're trying to live a movie.
It's sort of that, there's that subgenre of hip hop, horrorcore, which is very much horror movie tropes and very violent and gory. It's almost like the hip hop version of something like Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
Right? And there's some great albums in horrorcore. I think the first Gravediggers album's really good. But mostly it's a sort of just weird side subgenre or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's and a lot of it's very adolescent. It's just like, here's some gory stuff, and here's some horrible, nasty rhymes. But this is interesting enough in that it does use those tropes, the violent images and the rest of it. But then it sort of almost investigates it as well.
Yeah.
It's a really, really interesting record. And I can't praise it enough. It's really cool.
Yeah, even the 15-minute Foley recording of a piano literally burning at the end.
Yeah.
Very bizarre, but again, it belongs in the theme, so I guess it makes sense.
And if you want to skip that one,
you can,
it's fine.
There's no hidden track at the end.
And you don't even need to skip it.
Yeah, just turn the album off.
But
anyway, clipping is it's basically, it's like album of the month junior. It's like the deputy to album of the month.
There are so many albums. I think this is the best month we've had for new releases. October, I've got a list of 13 albums that were good this month. I think actually my hip hop album of the month would be Danny Brown's You Know What I'm Saying?
Oh, okay.
I like it. I know maybe you were maybe slightly disappointed in that it's not as much a statement as Atrocity Exhibition. It's just like good tracks. It's not like a cohesive sort of album. It's not got like a theme running through it or whatever. But I love it. All the tracks are bangers, pretty much. All the featurings are great. You've got Run the Jewels on there. You've got Peggy doing the production as well. Every song on it is a fucking banger. There's one that I've just had on repeat called Savage Nomad.
Oh, yeah.
The beat on this is so beefy, you could choke a whale. It is unbelievable. And it's funny. It's funnier than any Netflix comedy special you've seen this year. It is genuinely funny. He sort of spoke about it as being his stand-up album.
Yeah.
And the way I think about it in comparison to Atrocity Exhibition is it's sort of like, and I'll use this example because I bagged on him in an earlier episode, but you had the two Iggy Pop albums in the 70s that immediately followed each other. You had The Idiot, which was very oppressive and dark and sort of depressive, followed immediately by Lust for Life, which is sort of just party punk pop songs, good rock and roll, just sort of stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
Great songs, and they both work, and they work because they sit next to each other. So I think this is I don't love it as much as the last one, but it is another great album by him, and it's great because it's just let him cut loose and have fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be this sort of oppressive, depressing album. As depressing as Atrocity Exhibition was, it's still a great record.
Yeah.
It still goes a mile a minute. But it's just nice hearing him have some goofball fun.
Yeah, I can understand that. And it did definitely grow on me.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't... I was kind of, like, I wasn't taken aback at first, like, it's an album. And then the more I listened to it, the more I realised it is just that. It's just a kind of... I don't know, a venting almost of like just the sort of shit that you maybe wanted to be a bit goofier with, and like it felt a little bit like, you know, when fucking Kendrick came out with Damn after To Pimp a Butterfly, and everyone was like, wow, what a fall from grace. It's like, was it?
Damn's really good.
Damn's
though.
a good album, but like obviously it's a hard act to follow.
Yeah.
So I tried to give it more of a chance, and as time went on and as the listens racked up, I did start to become obsessed with certain parts of it, and like I would say
Three Tears is great.
Yeah, Three Tears is great. I now thoroughly love Dirty Laundry.
Dirty Laundry. There you go, Kanye. That's how you do a laundry hip hop song.
The whole song is about it.
Whole song's about laundry. And it has the bit that kills me every time, and I know it's coming and it still gets me every time, is where he says actual change again. So funny, this record.
And like Savage Nomad is amazing, but like there's
Combat at the end with Q-Tap
Combat.
that's so good as well.
It's a lot of fun in places, and like some of the swagger on some of the tracks is undeniable. It's like he's clearly having a fucking ball with it.
It's still got that grimy, nasty aesthetic that he always has, but it's got more of a sort of quirky goofballness to it.
Yeah.
That is there in his personality, but this is sort of the comedy record.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. It's just whatever it is, 10, 11 absolute bangers stacked on top of each other. It's great. It would be pips clipping just slightly for me.
Okay.
In terms of more varied production. Like the production in clipping's great, but it's sort of because it's more of a themed record. Yeah, it's sort of got one sonic template or palette.
That's true.
Whereas this one, because it's not got some overarching theme. It's just more variable in terms of the production.
That's true.
So that's where it would slightly beat it for me.
I did feel like in the second half of the album, sort of around the point of Savage Nomad onwards, he did start to feel a little bit more like he's focusing on like an acoustic drum forward kind of sound.
Yeah, maybe.
Would you call that boom bap? Like the kind of
it's very indebted to sort of early 90s boom bap.
Yeah.
I mean he's got Q-Tip doing the production, so it's sort of got shades of that, and
then you add Peggy on top of that.
On Peggy as well. Peggy absolutely killing it this year, and this is just sort of all the best rappers, or some of the best rappers of the last 10 years. It's just sort of my wet dream. You know, you've got Run the Jewels and Danny on a track produced by Peggy. It's just like, when did I fall asleep and this happened? I'm clearly living in a dream. It's fucking great.
Feet of Clay by Earl Sweatshirt came completely out of the blue
on Halloween. Ooh.
Yeah, and it's definitely eerie in places. It's definitely got a nice like sort of spooky like morbid tone. Just like it feels like Earl's been trapped in a mindset ever since I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside. And it's not that I worry for him. It's just that he genuinely seems to be at his best when he's fucking miserable.
Yes. It's very much in line with some rap songs. It's lo-fi, and the production is sort of quite faded and in the background.
Yeah. It's murky.
It's murky, yeah, definitely. And a lot of the tracks are 2 minutes and under.
It's a 13-minute long album or something. 15-minute long.
And actually, the worst song on it is the last one, which is 4 minutes, and it just doesn't. I suppose the one issue I have with this record, or EP, whatever.
I think it's an album.
Probably okay. We'll call it an album. I think the one issue I have with this is that a lot of the production in the background, it's sort of it's interesting, but it doesn't really go anywhere. There's not a lot of changes in the beats or the tempo. It's sort of different to some rap songs, which had more of a sort of a track would go one way or it would splinter off to something else. This is more sort of
I would say
it's not as experimental almost,
which is
it's more
weird.
Sort of lo-fi.
It's very strange that you would say that, because apparently this record marks the beginning of a new recording relationship.
Oh, right.
Because Some Rap Songs was the last record he put out on Columbia, I want to say.
Yes.
And he was happy to be gone from Columbia so he could do, quote unquote, more weird shit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what's going to be weirder than Some Rap Songs? It's like, this album isn't weirder than Some Rap Songs.
No, I don't think it is,
but
no.
it is definitely still keeping in this vein of weird, I don't know, warped, kind of like almost like drugged out, kind of like
recorded in a shed.
Yeah, what would you call it? Like kind of a garage rock equivalent of like a hip hop record.
Yeah, like early sort of black metal, poorly recorded.
And not to say that there's
not it's poorly recorded.
Not to say there's
produced.
not depth in places. There's definitely, it feels sometimes it can be quite like sort of like layered and like sort of interesting, but it's definitely not Some Rap Songs. Some Rap Songs had a lot. I think Some Rap Songs didn't really do it for me though, because it's so insistent, because it is so it's so demanding in places that I'm actually starting to get tired.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, whereas this record flies by.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not my favourite, but yes, it's still interesting. I think it's maybe more interesting than enjoyable. Maybe
it's interesting from the point of view of it is marking a new phase in his career. Yeah.
Like I'd be interested to see what happens next.
Oh yeah,
almost
absolutely.
Over this. Yeah,
because it kind of reminds me of remember the Klaxons?
No. Yes, of course I remember the Klaxons. Those heady days of new rave.
Yeah, new rave.
What a time to be young.
They spent one album doing new rave, and then their second album was genuinely amazing, but they wanted to make it even more weird.
Is that the one where they got the Slipknot producer?
I couldn't tell you.
Was it Ross Robinson or something?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But
comment below.
They wanted to make something that was even weirder, called Landmarks to Lunacy.
Oh yeah.
And they couldn't. The record company told them they couldn't, so they released an EP of the songs that they'd recorded. That Atlantic or Polydor, I think it was Polydor, told them, you can't put this out as a record; it will bomb. And it was weird as fuck. That's what this feels like, an experimental EP to prove like this is what I'm going to be like going forward. Maybe this is a foundation that I'm going to build on going forward. But the worst part about the Klaxon story is the album that they put out after that was really, really, really boring and shit, and then they disappeared forever and never made anything cool ever again.
Fair enough.
So let's hope that doesn't happen to Earl. Let's hope Earl's got plenty in the tank. Let's hope he does something cool.
I think he's very individual. There's nobody that releases or raps like him.
I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to talk about 65 Days of Static briefly.
Go for it.
I'm going to try and get it out of the way as fast as I can, because I briefly mentioned it in the last episode because they'd released so many singles, and the album actually came out on practically the day before we recorded the last episode. So couldn't really talk about it properly. Now I've had a month of listening to it and trying to understand it. I feel like I do understand it a lot better now, and it is a very good 65 Days of Static album, but that's all it is. It's a 65 Days of Static album.
Right.
If you're a 65 Days of Static fan, you'll like it. If you
all
like
12 out there. I mean, I don't know what their popularity is.
I genuinely can't gauge it either, because like I've been to shows for them where like it's a room full of people, but again that doesn't mean anything because it's always small rooms. It's not like they're selling at the Hydro or like a stadium or something like that. But either way, if you like the soundtrack stuff that they've done recently, you'll love this. If you like old 65 Days of Static, you'll maybe find something to like about it. I found it very relaxing and it's kind of grandiose in places. Okay. It's exactly what you would expect from them after their foray into algorithmically dictated beats that are then built on through like sort of jam sessions. They did an entire year of touring with an algorithm that made beats for them, and then they would play a song around the algorithm's beat generation.
That's interesting.
And it was just experimental as fuck, based around this idea of No Man's Sky was the game that they did the score for.
Okay.
And the whole point of that game is it was an infinitely randomly generated universe, so every player would experience the game differently.
Okay.
And that's kind of what they were going for with that whole tour of like, let's just make a show every night that's different from the last one, based around these things that we've conjured music out of the ether kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like, that's kind of cool, that's really cool. This album is very much like, let's try and take that and harness it and turn it into a coherent package.
Right.
And it's good, but it's still very much just for the 65 Days fans out there.
Okay.
That's it. That's the end of that statement.
Fair enough. I mean, maybe I'll just do some quick ones that are also good. I mean, it's been a packed month.
Mm-hmm.
There was Telefon Tel Aviv with Dreams Are Not Enough, which is a sort of quite strange experimental record. It's very cluttered and noisy and quite oppressive, but then it's got these sort of lovely sort of dreamscape vibes to it. It's really, really cool record. It's really interesting. There was the new one called Crush from Floating Points. This is sort of more like glitchy, Square Pusher type Aphex Twin. Every track and it's an absolute banger. It's really great. If you like your sort of glitchy sort of stuff, that if it's really float your boat. And the third one that I thought was really cool was the first album in I think 17 years or something from 808 State.
Okay.
Legends, OGs of sort of acid house. It's called Transmission Suite. What's interesting about this record is it's all done on like the old analog sort of synthesizers.
Right.
So the production is not as clean and not as polished as modern electronic music. But what's nice about it is you can almost hear like the buttons getting pushed. It's got a real sort of nice clunkiness to it. And it just is an absolute banger. It sounds like it was recorded in 1991 and it's fucking great. If you like sort of your old school acid house and sort of techno and stuff like this, it's a long album. It's got a lot on it, but it goes in all sorts of different directions and it gets a lot of mileage out of these sort of old recording techniques. So those would be sort of three really cool, really interesting electronic albums that, I think are worth a listen.
Excellent. To keep the pain train going, I'm going to briefly talk about Battles.
Okay.
Juice B Crypts. It's
what?
I know. I fucking hate their naming conventions.
Juice B Crypts.
Juice, as in fruit juice.
Yeah.
B as in uppercase letter B.
Letter B. Yeah.
And Crypts as in spooky, scary skeleton crypts.
Not Crypts as in the gang.
No. Or not any of those not any of those references. It's just nonsense words strung together.
Juice be Crypts.
I hate the way they name stuff. Titanium Two Step. What the fuck does that even mean? That was the lead single off of this.
That's better than Juice be Crypts.
They should have called the album Titanium Two Step. Juice be Crypts is terrible. Their last album as well was called Laddie Daddy, and the one before that was Gloss Drop. It's like none of it relates to anything. It's all just nonsense. Anyway, enough ranting about that.
Just go the full Aphex Twin route and just call it 492744 brackets.
Yeah.
Brackets XYZ. What's your favourite track off the new Aphex Twin album? Oh, I really like Sonophono, XY2Z, the remix. So yeah, Battles, right?
Battles made another album.
They're down to how many cunts now?
That's them down to 2. They started with 4. That's them down to 2. It has moments that I love, and it has moments that I find incredibly grating, because that's what Battles do. They make music that tests your fucking patience, and they do it for yucks. It seems they're very into the whole idea of using loops and building off of like a core idea and just fucking really hammering at it. And there's another album that we're going to talk about later on that's very like that.
So what you're saying is they're just purposely trying to annoy you.
Pretty much.
They're a sort of clown core for Guardian readers.
Yeah, they're the intelligentsia's clown core.
There you go.
It's shocking how annoyed I can be by Battles sometimes, even though they're a band that I would say I genuinely like. I don't like them at all, and at times, like, there's stuff on, like, the second album, Gloss Drop, where they got rid of the singer for the first one, and they got a bunch of people doing, like, guest vocals and stuff like that.
There's some really good songs on it, yeah.
There is, but see when they do that, see Gary Newman on that fucking...
Oh, fuck, Gary Newman's on it, that's right, yeah.
It's fucking terrible, and it's, like, wailing, disjointed, like, just, and the song's going forever as well, and that's at least... The one thing that Just Be Crypts has going for it is that it doesn't have too many of those obnoxious as fuck vocal performances. It's just beats. It's just beats that they drive into the fucking ground.
Fair enough.
So it's good in places, bad in places. If you like Battles, you fucking love it probably. You'll be writing in The Guardian how great it is. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm done. Do you want to briefly talk about The Comet is coming? Oh wait, you didn't really. Did you listen to it enough?
I have heard it, but you've probably...
I'm not even going to say that much about it because there isn't much to say. It's the other side to the coin for, like, they released an album earlier on in the year.
Which is great.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's about... no, what the fuck is it called? It's basically, like, that's the life... It's the life force.
Yeah, aye.
Because it's got life force in the title.
Oh, right. The one earlier in the year was...
I've forgotten what the hell it's called.
I've got it on my list here. It's Truth in the Life Force of the Deep Mystery.
That's it.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be on my top 10 at the end of the year, maybe.
I think if I was going to put it in my top 10, it would have to come with The Afterlife as its companion.
Good as well. Yeah.
It's very good, The Afterlife, but it is very much like a slightly more somber and subdued album. It's like way more downtone, and like it opens with this big, huge, sprawling song called "All That Matters Is the Moments," it's got that got the spoken word stuff all over it.
Oh yeah.
And it is basically just like, it feels like the end of something.
It's less funky than the first album.
It's like a soliloquy or something at the beginning of it.
It's sort of not... The first album's more sort of indebted to disco and funk and sort of George Clinton sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And this is less. This is sort of more
There's
of
nothing,
a tone sort of piece.
Nothing as fun as Summon the Fire on this one.
God.
Summon the Fire is like one of the most fun new jazz tracks you'll ever hear. But like
great.
This, I mean, see the sax on All That Matters Is the Moments. It's ridiculously powerful. Like, it's beautiful. Like, I've never really been so compelled by a sax performance. It's one of the best I've ever heard. However, the album never really gets past that track.
Right.
It's a good album, but that track hits so hard right out the gate that it's like you can't keep it up. They just can't. So, like, ultimately, it needs to be experienced as a companion piece with
Yeah.
the other album, and it's kind of, yeah, I wouldn't say it's something you should seek out to listen to in alternative to The Secret of the Life Force, or whatever the fuck it was called. I would say it's a very solid jazz album, and they're a very, very impressive
It's very good, yeah, and I really like it. The other sort of add-on sort of continuation album, I guess, this month was the second one from Sunn, Pyroclasts.
Yeah.
Very similar, I think recorded at the same time as Life Metal.
I think so.
I think this one is more sort of improvised.
Okay.
So it's still got the same. It still sounds great. The production once again is from Steve Albini.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as interesting as Life Metal, in my opinion. And I know the running joke of the podcast now is that we talk about drone metal every episode, but there's some really cool, interesting things that Sunn do on Life Metal that they sort of expand their sort of palette, and this is more sort of a callback to, or harking back to sort of the first early records.
Yeah.
Just like two guys in a room scuzzing out. If you like that sort of thing, it's another good record. There was another doubler this month for you wanting to talk about.
Really?
Foals 2.
Oh, fuck, aye, of course, aye. The companion piece to Everything Not Is Saved Will Be Lost.
I'd forgotten that I'd heard the first album.
It's completely fucking forgettable. And the second one is completely forgettable.
Is it even more forgettable?
I would say it's slightly less forgettable because but
still forgettable.
Oh, it's absolutely forgettable because they tried to crank up the energy levels in this one, so they're rocking out, and rocking out is in gigantic quotes.
Rock.
I'm gonna have to go out to the shop and get more fucking quotes because I ran out for can't find any more, because rocking out for the Foals rather is weak piss. It's fucking terrible, piss weak, shitty white boy rock, with absolutely no fucking bite and no meaning really, and it's fucking embarrassing. It's
a hard time for these old indie bands now.
Yeah,
it's a hard time.
You gotta let go. The Future Heads came out with an album a month and a half ago. I didn't even fucking notice. I thought they were done forever, but they came back with an album that was a complete dud, just like this one. So it just goes to show you, sometimes you've just got to join the trash heap and accept the fact that your genre has died, and that's you. Put it to bed. You're done. You're cooked. You'll never work in this town again.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, don't listen to Foals, and I don't just mean Everything Not Safe Will Be Lost Part 2. I mean just don't listen to Foals, because there's better music out there than Foals. Everything Foals have made past the first album, Antidotes, is fucking boring.
Fair enough.
I used to be able to go to bat for Total Life Forever, their second album. Nah, I listened to it recently. Shit. It's terrible.
It's funny what age does to you, isn't it? It's just like, that's balls.
Antidote goes a mile a minute though. Antidotes or something. I think it's called Antidotes. Goes a mile a minute. It's got a great guitar on it and stuff like that. It's actually a lot of fun. Sounds very dated now, but it is still kind of fun. Yeah. Everything they made after it was so fucking boring. And you know that way where the horrors changed from weirdo goth punk into navel gazing, kind of wall of noise kind of stuff. But at least that transformation sounded great though. They sounded excellent when they changed. Adapt or die. That's it.
Right.
It's adapt or die, and Foals haven't adapted. They've just trudged out the same shite time and time again.
They are still very much a foal. They've not become a full-blown stag. They're not wrestling other stag. Wrestling, they're not. You know what stags do.
Yeah.
Don't you YouTube?
Yeah, Joe Rogan goes out and shoots them with a reflex bow. And then smokes a big massive joint afterwards and goes like, I'm the smart one.
Do you know that Joe Rogan is cousins with the fat guy from My Chemical Romance?
The fat guy.
You know the fat one.
Yeah, the fat Gerard Way. Fucking Gerard Way-in. He's fucking weighing a ton.
They should have just see what his surname, just put a T at the end. Wait.
Oh, man, poor guy. Man, he went off the cliff when he started writing comic books and he just became a fat, beardy weirdo. And then everyone was like, you've got to come out of retirement, Gerard. You've got to come out of retirement and play another My Chemical Romance track. He's like, I'm all washed up and his guts hanging out and everything like that.
He's like a Jake LaMotta at the end of Raging Bull. Just sort of looking in the mirror, putting his eye makeup on.
He's like, I've got to be a sexy emo teen again.
Oh dear. Oh well.
I hope he finds what he's looking for with this reunion. I hope they make another album because I like My Chemical Romance. Alright, I used to.
I don't. I hated them. What was the other one? There was a few. There was a sort of quite cool track or quite cool album this month. It's the new one from the two Bryans, also known as Lightning Bolt, called Sonic Citadel. It's I really like. Do you know Lightning Bolt?
No.
Sort of noise rock. Like I didn't really know them until very recently, and everybody that's a fan of like friends that like Lightning Bolt were like, "How have you not got into this band? Like this is exactly your type of band, noisy, scuzzy, sort of just thrashing." And so I've become very I know blah, blah, blah. I've listened to all the records now, like in quick succession, and they're all great. Like my favourite ones would be the ones in the mid 2000s. I love. I think it's called Wonderful Rainbow, and then there's another one called like Hyper Magic Mountain, and these are just fucking just nasty, horrible rackets. And this new album is sort of more palatable. It's less noisy. It's still fucking noisy, but the vocals are cleaner on it. It's got a little more polish to it. It's almost poppy in places. It's good. It's not. I don't enjoy it as much as the older stuff. But yeah, still worth a listen. It's if you like Lightning Bolt, it's better than the last few, but it's not reaching the heights of those great albums that they came out with. So well done, Bryans. It's another good Lightning Bolt record.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So
Swans also had another one, and like Lightning Bolt, this is more palatable and less noisy than the other records.
yeah.
Yeah.
Swans Leaving Meaning is another Swans record.
Yeah. It's not as interesting, it's not as abrasive, it's not as forceful as stuff like The Seer. Particularly, I loved To Be Kind. That's just great. That's just such like one of the best rock records of the last decade. Just so good. And this is a good record, but it's just sort of it's in that sort of difficult position where it's come after 3 really fucking great records.
Yeah.
And it's just not as interesting.
Yeah.
I guess.
It meanders around and doesn't really go anywhere a lot, and some of it is a little bit kind of tepid. Like the instrumentation is lush as usual in places, but again they get lost in these grooves, and sometimes it just sits doing nothing. There's
not as much variance or scope as we had with you're not getting 35-minute long songs, but but even still these songs are like 12 minutes
and they feel
minutes.
They feel it.
They don't really change up that much.
No. The title track is atrocious.
Yeah, that's the worst bit of the record.
It's basically the same like the same two lines and the same like sort of a couple of bars of music repeated over and over again for like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just infuriating.
It's Swans at their most self-indulgent.
Yeah.
And this is a band that do 35-minute long songs. But that self-indulgentness at least is more interesting, it's more varied. And you know, it feels like I'm really bagging on the record. It's good, but
it's not going to light anyone's world on fire.
No.
It's fine.
It's fine. And that's sort of like the worst things. Not the worst things. That's not fair. But the things that just don't stick with you are the things that are fine. It's like, how was that film fine?
Yeah.
How was that album fine? You're not having a strong reaction to it either way. Like, how was To Be Kind? Oh, it's fucking great. How was The Seer? Yeah, oh, it's fucking great. It's harrowing and nasty. How was Leaving Meaning? Fine.
Do you go in like about 2 years' time? Someone will go, "Did you like Leaving Meaning?" You'll go like, "What the fuck's that?"
What was that?
You won't remember it. It'll just be forgotten. Just like, see if it wasn't for the fact that Kanye West released Jesus is King, and you kind of just need to be up on it because he's like one of the biggest cultural figures on the planet. You would forget you'd listen to this album because it's like it's forgettable.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what Leaving Meaning's like. It's like I can imagine maybe coming back to it in a month and not remembering how any of the songs went because it just left my brain.
To get through a lot of all these albums, I find a lot of my spare time I'm listening to albums in the background. So I sort of jokingly said I'm listening to this new Swans album whilst my kid is painting. But you could.
Yeah.
You could. It's that sort of Swans record. It's just like coffee table Swans.
It's not going to freak his bean.
No, it's... And I actually prefer To Be Kind, Daddy. I was like, yes, no, me too, son. It's... yeah.
And he went back to
painting.
Painting a front cover of a Guardian or a Guardian crossword. He painted a Guardian crossword.
You know, they're really good, the Guardian, for... I mean, the only reason I buy the Guardian anymore, that rag. You're not as left-wing as you used to be.
Yeah.
The only reason I still get the Guardian is entirely to put on the floor for paint. That's what it's good for these days. I still like Bradshaw's reviews, but you can read those on your computers. But yeah, print media is dead.
Yes.
And all it's good for is collecting toddlers' paint and fish. Wrapping fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surprisingly, there was a genuinely great album from Mayhem.
Okay.
All those episodes ago, you listened to their first album, and 25 years later, they've released the best album since the debut.
Okay.
It is ferocious. It's the best they've sounded in years, and they're very much harking back to the first album. Apparently they were touring the first album before they recorded this.
Okay.
So it was very much in that mindset, and it's very scuzzy, it's nasty, it's got the sort of screeched vocals. But what I think put you off of the first album is the production quality.
Yeah.
A lot of black metal, the production is very poor. And for the diehards, that's what they like about it. It's got a sort of rawness to it. This doesn't have that. This is sort of better produced album. And it's sort of slight. What Mayhem did effectively was they had their first sort of black metal album, and it's sort of the benchmark of that genre. And then the next couple albums they did sort of got more time for experimentation. There's a little bit of experimentation on this, but it sort of more harks back to an older sound, but it's better produced. It doesn't sound like it was recorded in a cattle shed. And so I think you'd actually like it. I think it's it's just great. It's just a really nasty, horrible black metal record.
Is this an iteration of the band that has no murderers or Nazis in it?
I believe so. The real surprise for me this month in terms of albums that I loved was there was a new album from Richard Dawson called 2020.
Okay.
And I'd sort of known the name, and I know friends that are into Richard Dawson, but he, from what they told me, he was sort of more sort of alternative folk.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really appeal to me. But this album is great. It's so funny and it's lacerating, and it's all, what it basically is it's sort of a snapshot into the near future, and it's very much sort of Britain in a sort of state of sort of disillusion, and it's sort of crumbling. And each of the songs are sort of narrative. It's sort of each are a piece of a sort of landscape of this sort of decaying, crumbling country, and it's really blackly funny. And and the instrumentation on it is, it's still got sort of folk elements to it, but it's got more sort of electronic influences on it.
Okay.
And it's just great. It's really, really good. I was totally blown away by it, to the point where it is my album of the month.
Okay.
And this was a real shock for me, even, because I know what your album of the month is.
Yeah.
But this totally totally wasn't what I was expecting, and it's up there with the best of the year so far. If you want to hear sort of really cool, interesting changes in sort of, it's basically just like a great rock and roll record.
Right.
It's just like really cool rock record with enough sort of humour and sort of experimentation in it that really flies along. And each track on it is great. It's not often that you get an album where every song on it is, usually there's one or two that you skip, but every one on this is great.
Yeah.
And I really would recommend it. It's really cool. We get on to the big one then.
Yeah, and it is a big one. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds' Ghosteen is my album of the month. But
it was very close to being my album of the month until I heard 2020. And that surprised me more than anything, because I am such a huge Nick Cave mark. It's I had the haircut. I love almost every record. This is another great one. This is just, how do you keep putting out records of this quality this far into your career?
It's astounding. It's like they're getting better as they get older.
It's life affirming.
In
terms of these men in their 60s.
I think so, in the 60s.
50s, well, maybe 50s, 60s,
something like that.
Every record is just great. And this one does things that no other Nick Cave album's ever done. They're
still growing as artists, which is crazy. They're not just putting out great music. It's astounding how different these albums sound from, like, this sounds different from Skeleton Tree. Skeleton Tree sounded different from Push the Sky Away. Push the Sky Away sounded very different from Dig Lazarus Dig. And Dig Lazarus Dig is like the ultimate rock album.
Yeah, it's great.
And like that is coming off of the back of things like Avatar Blues and Lyre of Orpheus, which is like such a phenomenally great album.
And you just think about the number of great albums they've put out. But even before that, you've got Murder Ballads. Even The Boatman Calls. Is great.
Let Love In.
Astounding. And then you've got the 80s stuff as well. It's just so good.
Is consistently a source of incredibly inspired, great lyricism, fantastic vocal performances. Warren Ellis is like the driving force behind the musicianship of the band, and like you can tell he was just basically left to his own devices to try his best to make something underneath Nick Cave basically like having an existential crisis on this album, because he is full on, like, again, talking about people embracing faith and spirituality. This is the most spiritual I've heard
Yeah.
Nick Cave ever be.
It's not. There's no tongue-in-cheekness to
No.
the references to the Afterlife that you would have had on the earlier sort of more gothic albums.
Yeah.
It's very much heart on his sleeve territory.
And he has like did you ever watch One More Time with Feeling?
I didn't watch it. No, I've not been able to see it.
It's really, really hard to watch. It is a beautiful documentary, very, very well shot, beautiful looking, kind of very well presented and very, very sincere.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the name of the game for him now, and he even talks about it in the movie. And he's clearly embracing it more and more and more as his career plods on as well. Where
it's less of a character.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
An alter ego to the record.
Yeah. He doesn't care about narrative anymore. He doesn't think it has anything to give in terms of his art anymore. All he cares about is the feelings and the sensations and trying to articulate them.
It's probably the most outwardly beautiful record they've ever done.
Oh yeah, easily.
It sounds gorgeous. What marks this album is different to the other ones in their career is it's almost like a two-piece. It's very much a sort of, it's the heaviest on the synths it's ever been.
Oh yeah.
A sort of dreamy, sort of ethereal backing from Warren Ellis, and Nick, very much the vocals are to the fore. So the rest of the band are sort of left out a little. The production is sort of non-existent.
Yeah,
but it's all part of a piece. So I get if some people wouldn't be as taken with it because the bad seeds aren't as to the fore as they would be.
that's true. Yeah.
But he sings on it.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely gorgeously sings.
He goes full falsetto, which I did not know he was capable of doing.
I have followed Nick Cave. I've been a fan of his forever. And there were things on this record that I was surprised at. Like, you think you go into a Nick Cave record and you expect it's always going to be great, and you expect certain things. But then he brings this falsetto in that just brings tears to your eyes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, God, they've given me something I as the hugest Nick Cave nerd, wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's really cool.
It's
good record.
It really does. It defies expectations for a band where you should be used to them defying expectations, but every single time they seem to top themselves. And it, as you say, it's not as musically driven, and that was part of the fun for Nick Cave at all times. Like, even when they started to strip the heavier instrumentation away for things like Push the Sky Away and like Skeleton Tree, there were still moments musically that were compelling.
Yeah.
This album is just Cave and Ellis, and it's totally fine as it is, because Cave, as great a lyricist as he has always been, this is where he's outdone himself. I've never heard him be so on point with like everything stripped away. There's absolutely no ambiguity here, and I know everyone said Skeleton Tree was like an album for his son. He's been on record multiple times saying he recorded or wrote and partially recorded
to the accident,
prior to his son dying. This album is his mourning. This is him actually processing it.
There's parts of it that are really uncomfortable listening to it.
Yeah.
And so nakedly.
I wrote some quotes.
Yeah, okay.
There's little room for wonder now, and little room for wildness too. We crawl into our wounds in regards to him and his wife. He basically just sort of is at that point admitting that the Nick Cave of murder ballads is fully dead.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Nick Cave that we knew before his son died is fully dead. There's nothing left in him.
Yeah.
And him and his wife he's worried about the idea of him and his wife turning inside themselves and not being able to cope.
Yeah.
And that's a very harrowing thing to hear someone admit on an album. And like the big song Hollywood, the big album closer, like literally has a retelling of the mustard seed story from Buddhist mythology and stuff like that. He retells the whole story, and that's like kind of the backbone of that song.
Yeah.
Aside from the harrowing reprise of I'm just waiting now for my time to come, and I'm just waiting now for my place in the sun, I'm just waiting now for peace to come. He's just saying that he wants to die. And he's telling this story about like coming to terms with the fact that everyone loses people, everyone's dying all the time. His pain isn't special. And it never drags, it never feels indulgent.
No.
As indulgent as it outwardly seems, because it is lengthy and it is very much just, it's Nick Cave and a synthesizer basically. It's like, it's not much, but it never once feels like the spotlight is on him. He's turned himself fully inside out and everything's pouring out. And it's stunning. But
no, it is, it's a really stunning record, you're right.
But I can totally understand why it is lacking in places for some people.
Yeah.
And I think
so would you say it beats out because you loved Push the Sky Away, would you say it beats it out maybe?
No.
Or is it still too early to... I
think it's such a raw, brutally beautiful experience as a whole package that I think it's maybe a little bit too early days for it to just say maybe. Like but honestly I could say Push the Sky Away as a whole package is more accomplished and more beautiful in places. Like, it's got points of true beauty in it as well, but like it feels less what would you call it, like kind of not nihilistic. I wouldn't say Nick Cave has been nihilistic on this album, but he's definitely lost an element of hope and happiness, and that little bit of hope and sort of like coy wildness that's still in him on Push the Sky Away gives it a little bit of heat. It gives it a little bit of teeth.
Yeah, no, I'd go with you there. I think so.
That of course we all know and love Nick Cave for having that little bit of bite to him. So like, Ghosteen is unfortunately him. It's retirement home music. It's him fully. Stagger Lee is gone. Like, it's fully him, just sad old man Nick Cave. Yeah. Whereas, Push the Sky Away.
It's great. It is such a good record. Yeah.
Push the Sky Away it was basically the demo run for this weird spoken word approach to music he's doing now, though. Yeah. Like, the whole tone poem thing began there. Like, finishing Jubilee Street is just a spoken word track. Yeah. And stuff like that. It's like, true. Yeah. That's true. I love that sound, though. Push the Sky Away is a masterpiece. So that puts an end to one of the best months of music I've ever experienced. Yeah, I would say so. Looking forward to some pretty cool stuff in November. The Cattle Decapitation. Cattle Decapitation album's coming out. And I'm pretty sure there's a fucking Coldplay album coming out, boys. Fucking Coldplay album troops. Everyone's looking forward to that. God. So there's some good stuff on the horizon. But we're about to transition smoothly yet again to our book club segment. So here it goes. Okay. I'll go first because I get the feeling you're going to have a lot less to say as well.
It's only 13 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to... There's not much to work with this album. Yeah. But, okay, so you gave me Bjork's sophomore effort post. Yeah. And I have limited experience with Bjork. Yeah. Or I had until I had this album. And I had an idea of what she was. Yeah. And then I heard this album and I was like, oh shit, I was completely wrong. Oh, like, right, okay. There's absolutely no way to define Bjork. She just is. Yeah. This album is a lot of fucking fun and incredibly cool. Good. In places, and kind of fucking harrowing in places as well. I did sort of the same thing I did with Nick Cave, where I picked some choice quotes that I sort of think like really exemplify some of the tracks.
You will not get any quotes from Clowncore.
God, I'm pretty sure like there's that one song Hell or something where it's like he actually does scream on it, but I have no idea what he's fucking saying. I think it's just noises. So it opens up with this fucking absolute banger, Army of Me.
Oh god, it's so good.
Buzzy synths and punchy drums kicking things off. It's just got this big fucking lumbering swagger to it, and it's basically just a like a slap around the face of like the whole song's about like snap the fuck out of it and like grow up. That's the whole point of the song. If you don't fix yourself up, you're going to face an army of me. It's like, I was not expecting something with that much thunder in it.
Yeah.
For like, I don't know why. I don't know what I was expecting. I've had such little exposure to her.
It's really indebted to like a Big Beat, which was huge at the time, and it's sort of almost like a Chemical Brothers beat bit in the background.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way, and it's like
quite industrial, sort of clanging metal. Yeah.
And then right into hyper ballads. The chorus is amazing production dance beat that sort of emerges again. I guess that's where the big beat stuff is coming in. It's like sort of, it's peppered throughout the album, I'd say, but like it's not all it is. There's a lot to this album. There's a lot going on, but the chorus sounds so uplifting. It seems to be about having to live an internal life to maintain a relationship. Like, this is part of the sort of weird thing I noticed about the album, where she has all these like amazingly well produced, like sort of fairly upbeat songs, but some of the lyrics will be like desperately sad or like sort of introspective. Like this one is, I go through all this before you wake up so I can feel happier, so I can be safe up here with you. It's this idea that like she literally has to just get out all of her existential angst before her partner wakes up, because otherwise she can't be in a relationship. That's horrible. It's like those sort of admittances and these sort of things, these confessions of like, it happens multiple times on the album where you're just like, she's either had terrible relationships with terrible people, or she has a genuinely like nihilistic view of relationships in general. I
think she's had a rough time of it.
Yeah,
probably.
And it's beautiful and like emotionally dense, and like there's some there's a lot of really good lyricism on this album in terms of that, like playing around with stuff. The modern things, straight into a weird song about technology, always existing but waiting for the right time to reveal itself.
Yeah, that is a weird song. Yeah.
Rough sounding jazzy drum line under the floaty synth. The warmth on this record really strikes you on tracks like this. Vocal performance here is incredible. She's great the whole time, but the dynamics in her voice really shine here. It's Also Quiet is fucking garbage.
It is the sort of, it's not my favourite song. Yeah.
I genuinely fucking hate this song. I always have hated this song, and it stands out like a sore fucking thumb on this record. It's like, it's a horrible little roadblock on what is essentially a smooth, beautiful ride. I hate it. I skip it every time.
I must admit, I don't listen to it either. I don't hate it. It's okay. But I would. It's not my favourite of her singles. It's weird that it was such a big hit. It's like it's like her pop song.
Yeah. And that big band sound wasn't part of the zeitgeist at the time. It was like that it wasn't taken off. Remember when fucking Robbie Williams brought back swing music, and it was like big band became a thing again for a little while. This was in the mid-90s. Who the fuck was listening to stuff that sounds like this?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's bizarre, and
I don't hate it. It's definitely corny as fuck.
Yeah.
And it's the video is good fun.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very well made video. Was that Spike Lee? No, Spike Jones. Spike Lee. Fuck's sake. Aye, Spike Jones. But that was during the 90s, where like music videos were like small masterpieces. Yeah. Everyone making all these amazing music videos.
Do you remember the music videos in the 90s? So good.
Remember music videos?
Oh god.
I remember when I used to watch Rock TV every day. I was raised on fucking Kerrang, man. That's where I got a majority of my stinky music taste from the 2000s.
That's where most of your book club choices for me come, isn't it?
Absolutely, man. Wait until you get a 36 Crazy Fists album.
Fucking hell.
Okay.
Did I see 36 Crazy Fists, or was that too unlimited?
Unfortunately, neither of us have seen Too Unlimited.
Or what was it?
65 Days of Static.
46 Crazy Fists.
Well,
it's a callback.
Yeah. Go back and listen to the last episode because it's a banger. Okay.
We should do a review of one of the podcasts.
I would absolutely review.
Sort of meta commentary.
I would review episode 7. It's the one that we seem to have the most fucking fun with.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Hey, if you buy the subscription package to this, whatever you can get free exclusive.
We'll do commentaries on all of our episodes.
On our own episodes.
And we'll make a bag of knives / BoKcast mug, and you can be part of the Bok Mug Club, and it's only £100 a year.
Yeah, you could put, hey, do you want a special loot crate with limited edition Fat Pig Stinker hats?
Oh my god, imagine.
Impress your friends with a little haired podcast.
Imagine a fucking little pressy soundbox button thing, and it just says Fat Pig Stinker.
Fat Pig Stinker.
And that's it, and you can just say that over and over again. You just press the wee button and it says it for you.
Hey, do you want Eamon's cookbook, where Eamon compares every food known to man to an album?
It's infinitely long. You release the book in chapters forever.
Every month of my life. I've got to think about what album would best represent macaroni.
We're going to have to really bring that full back to the fore at some point. It's part of our very, very still in its infancy brand, our strained food analogies.
Yeah. And what are the running gags?
The drone metal thing.
The
double albums, content getting cut because we run out of time. Like we have massive meandering conversations where it's just like 20 minutes just gets lobbed out of the episode.
You should do a supercut of every time you say "so fucking boring."
Oh, God. I don't know. Did I say it that much?
There was a lot of boring albums. In the first episode, maybe. There was a lot of indie filler that was so fucking boring.
Yeah.
So should we go back to Bjork? You were in the middle of one of the tracks.
I'm halfway through the album.
Okay, all right. I'll shut up.
Enjoy is after it's also quiet and things pick back up a bit.
Yeah.
It's a dramatic turn, more electronic banger side of the music, following trash swing big band sound. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. Is it something about senses? I tried to read into the lyrics a little bit, and it's like I don't really know what this means.
I don't know either.
But it was cool. It was fun. You've Been Flirting Again. This slows things right down into a pretty orchestral track. It's just basically, it's just a slow kind of ballad about cheating, but she's the one that's thinking about cheating.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, it's playing into this whole she clearly has not had a good previous experience with relationships. Moves into Isabel.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Continues the orchestral sound, but this time it's got a bit more bite. Outro goes on a wee bit, but it's still pretty great. It seems to be a take on nature. So Isabel is a personification of nature.
Yeah.
Implying the fall of cities in favour of life and natural impulse. Because it's a lot about banging in it. Possibly, maybe. Love the crackle, moody synth, little muffled kick snare combo that drives the track. The lyrics again juxtapose strongly against fairly chilled out beat with her languishing relationship status.
Yeah.
So some quotes. Your eruptions and disasters, I keep calm. Admiring your lava, I keep calm. Which leads eventually to electric shocks, I love them. With you, dozen a day. But after a while I wonder, where's that love you promised me? So yeah, just eventually you get to a point where you can't put up with someone's shite anymore.
Yeah.
I Miss You. Growing dance beat, bringing a lot of percussion sounds and stuff. It sounds like a block party banger.
Yeah.
With like a fairly low key, miserable sort of like undertone from the lyrics.
Yeah.
Again, a mourning of a lost love that she hasn't met yet. Knowing your perfect partner's out there, but bemoaning life before them. The brass coming in about a halfway point is amazing. She certainly knows how to make a track come to life. Cover Me sounds a little bit more sinister than it actually is. It has these strangely unplaceable strings, sounds a little bit like a harp, and it's over.
Yeah, sort of Bernard Herrmann Psycho almost.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Something kind of cool about it. Like, it is brief though. It's like maybe the shortest track on the album.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And things finish off with Headphones, a Spartan electronic dance beat, and a somber tone, an ode to the power of music and its life-saving properties.
Yeah. And I think the album mostly was produced by the main guy from 808 State.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice tie-in.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the last song's probably about him. I think it's sort of.
Oh.
I think it sort of makes references to him producing it or whatever. I can't even remember really. But yeah, so it sort of ties in.
I could see that. Either way, this is probably my favourite thing you've given me so far. It's astounding how fun and eclectic and lush everything sounds, and her lyrics and her vocal performance are like, I finally really truly understand why she has the legendary status that she does.
Yeah.
And I will happily listen to more Bjork in the future.
This is a sort of, I thought this was the right one for you. It's sort of when she's still there's still an edge to with the pop or the electro. The later albums are great, especially Homogenesis. Homogenic is the next album, and then you have Vespertine, and those are these three albums are sort of like her best.
Okay.
But those next two albums are more sort of ethereal, and it becomes slightly more sort of whispered tones. It's not as big beaty. It's still got some electronic stuff underneath it, but she gets more sort of spooky. It gets sort of slightly more wispy sort of. But yeah, they're still great albums. But this was definitely the one to get you into those next two.
Yeah, easily the best thing I've heard in the book club so far.
Better than Mayhem?
Yes.
Fair enough.
That's the end of my notes.
So, you gave me... I love this album. You gave me Toilet by Clowncore, and this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's great. It's so fucking stupid. It's what's great about it is effectively the first time I heard it, it's just a meme. It's just there to annoy me, and then the more I listen to it, the greater the musicianship shines through on it, and you just feel like sort of the musicianship is so good. Like, why the fuck are they wasting the time? Let's go into the tracks. It starts with Hell, which starts with these sort of really ugly stabbing synths, and then you got these little toots from a saxophone, and then the piece de resistance, you get the clown horn making its first of many appearances on this album, and then this guttural scream, and then a little Kenny G aside. And then a fucking blistering sax solo, and then it ends on dun 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 dun, and this opening track embodies everything that you will get on this record. You'll get amazing sax solos, fucking stupid as fuck clown horns,
And the drumming's fucking breakbeat
great.
drumming on it as well.
Oh my god, it's it's really funny.
Yeah.
The next the next song is called Witch Pussy, which starts with this patience testing single drum hit followed by a clown horn. So it just is boom, boom, boom for about 50 seconds.
Yeah.
And then once again it goes into this sort of hot sax solo. Oh, it's just fucking great. And then the fart noise in the last millisecond of the song gets me every time. I know it's coming, and yet it somehow arrives unexpectedly. It is the single greatest fart I've ever heard on any album.
Even better than Eminem's Over It.
Eminem's fart album. Encore is the fart album.
It fucking is.
If I'll do a little mini review for Encore here. Encore is an album full of farts, and you can hear how fat Eminem is, and he's rapping. Do you know what I mean? You can hear that he's put on the weights with the barbiturates in.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the only time vocals have sounded fat.
Yeah, it sounds audibly lazy.
The next song on this album is Toilet, the album track. The title track. And the solo that ends this is just amazing. And by this point in the album, you really understand that the musicianship on this farting album is fucking amazing. It has no right to be as good as it is for as stupid as it is. I love it. It's fucking great. Google Your Own Death is really misleading because it starts with this piano-led sort of ambient, almost like Godspeed You Black Emperor or a Silver Mount Zion, and then it just goes straight into happy hardcore synths, and then another great sax solo. This is the closest to any song being an actual song on the album, and it's the prettiest moment. It's really the prettiest moment is then followed by Scheduled Diarrhea. Which is just sort of a cacophonous freak out. Truth in Life follow it, which sounds like Crash Bandicoot chase music made by Government Plates era Death Grips.
Wow, that's actually perfectly summed up.
And then it goes into this sort of, then it gets more sort of 8-bitty computer game music, and it's followed by an utterly lovely fluttery sax solo. Area 51 Snack Bar sucks. I don't think I even wrote anything for that. Google Your Own Leap Nudes just revs up. It doesn't really go anywhere really.
Yeah.
It's probably the weakest thing on this 13-minute album.
Even weaker than the track you literally wrote nothing about.
I mean, no, probably Area 51 Snack Bar sucks. Probably the weakest because I don't remember it. It doesn't have any farts in it. That's the issue with that. Well, that song. And then By This album closes it with this sort of cheesy jingle music, sort of almost 50s advertising. And then it has 3 seconds of thrashing right at the end.
I love how you can get so specific with a second, because it's like every fucking moment counts on this 13-minute long album.
It's fucking great. It is life-affirmingly stupid. It is funny and annoying and brilliant. It is a masterpiece. It is. I genuinely love it. It's so fucking stupid.
They're so talented
I know.
It really is insane how much of a waste it is.
Do you know the link that you put for Post Malone last month was just somebody farting?
Yeah.
That's this album, but it's really, really, it's like farting by talented musicians in clown masks in a porta potty with a saxophone and synth drums. It's great. All right. So I guess now we have to pick the albums for the next month.
I think both of these are such hard acts to follow. It's going to be ones where it's like, I might as well give you something I know you're going to hate just because you're not going to be able to beat Toilet for a while.
I can always go back and listen to Toilet
to make you feel better.
Okay, what are you giving me then?
Well, we spoke about it earlier. Unfortunately, I'm keeping this relevant. I'm going to stick with a relevant news story that has popped up in the past week. And that is My Chemical Romance have made a dramatic, big, fat return. So I'm going to make you listen to, and I'm stressing that, make you listen to, because you wouldn't do this by choice. My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade.
The Black Parade.
I think 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge is a better album, but The Black Parade is a massive concept album about a man dying. The Black Parade, if you can't guess it, is death.
That's real clever.
Yeah. It's theatrical and big, and it's still emo and still very much of its era, but it's definitely the most musically accomplished album that My Chemical Romance ever put out.
Okay.
It's the closest thing to a legit piece of actual musical art kind of thing.
Okay.
It's not art, but it's the closest thing to it.
Well, you said that Toilet wasn't art, and I think it might be.
It's scatological avant-garde art.
That's true. Okay. I will cast aside my preconceptions and my prejudices for My Chemical Romance. I hated this band when I was a teenager. Every single I heard, I loathed. Fair enough. I'll tell you right now. I was a total metal snob as a kid. If it wasn't thrash, if it wasn't death metal, I didn't like it. But I'm an older man now. I'm wiser. I'm more accepting of other genres. So I will give this my best. I will jump into it. I will listen to it at least 3 times. I promise you that. And you know what? I'm looking forward to being surprised by it. If there's something it can only be better than that Static X album. So
what am I getting?
What you're gonna get? I was thinking about this when the Kanye West album came out. It's sort of a cliche of rock and roll or pop music, whatever, that people have an album where they find God.
Yeah.
You know, it's as old as the hills, as old as recording music. You have a rock and roll record in the 50s, and then I'll put out a gospel record because I've discovered God. You know, Bob Dylan will do it, Cat Stevens will do it. And mostly, as proved with Kanye West, it is self-indulgent to my ears. The exception to the rule, the only place that I think religious albums or converting to religion, that sort of subgenre of albums, the only genre where it fits is where it's entirely instrumental. So there's been a big elephant in the room for these book clubs, when am I going to recommend a jazz record? So you're going to get one now.
Okay.
It's a difficult choice. Like, you don't want to alienate you, and you don't want to go like too crazy or fucking 3 discs long or something. So this is a really cool small record. It's probably about half an hour, but there's so many great ideas and sort of really insanely great playing on it. It's Alice Coltrane, and it's called Journey in Satchidananda. I have probably pronounced that incorrectly. So this is a lovely, beautiful record, and this is about her experimenting with world religions.
Okay.
But because it's a jazz record, you're not getting any lyrics.
Okay.
So it's all through the musicianship, and it's great. The musicianship in this is so good. It can go a mile a minute. It'll be very soft. It'll be very furious. It goes through a lot of different ranges and tones, and you can almost get the emotion through the music. I think on the album cover it's recommended that you just, on the album cover it says something like to be listened to whilst lying down.
Okay.
And that's how I would recommend first to listen to it. Just relax and listen to it. It's not impenetrable.
Okay.
It's not like it's going to test your boundaries in terms of a jazz record. But it's also not trad jazz, which you would be bored by. So it's not sort of 50s swing jazz.
Yeah.
It's just really well produced 1970s freak out, sort of more rock orientated jazz, and it's only 30 minutes. So
Okay.
it's probably the one to dip your toe into for getting into jazz. And I think you will really like it. I think it's a great record.
Excellent.
And you gave me the Black Parade. Fucking hell! No, I'll. How long is the Black Parade?
I don't know. Let's click on it and find out. I think it might be an hour.
51 minutes.
Oh wait, yeah, okay.
Oh,
51
I can
minutes.
do that. 51's okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of an undertaking.
No, I can do that. That'll be fine. Oh well.
It also has one of my favourite hidden tracks of all time, though. And then when I say hidden track, it's just an end track. It's called Blood.
Blood?
Yeah. It's a pretty fun little thing.
Cool. Well, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'll give it a good go.
Cool. Well, yeah, that was good.
That was good fun.
So, thanks for joining us if you listened.
Thank you.
You can listen to all the other episodes on Spotify and Apple, and if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment if you feel like it. I'm not expecting anything, but...
And no pig stinkers this month.
Yeah, technically not.
So let's just reiterate that Chance the Rapper's album was fucking garbage.
Yeah, him and Post Malone should be fucking ashamed of themselves.
But without Post Malone, I wouldn't have searched for it on Spotify, and you wouldn't have got the Bjork album.
That is true.
So thank you, Post Malone.
Thank you for enabling people to remember that
discover better music.
Yeah, there are better things out there. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Bye.